Hello again. Peace. My name is Samuel Joseph Gaylord. Um, there's some things I wanted to touch up on uh, concerning comic books and my comic book collection. So, I'm an old time comic book person, and I love to collect old time comic books. Nightfall is a good place, but it's not the place for me. Matt, he's been really good. He's been the first. It was the one of the first comic book stores I went to when I got back into loving comic books. You see, my Uncle T, he got me into the love of comic books, and I carried that love into prison. I've carried it throughout my many years of living, and I'm turning 27 this year. And it's been an amazing road. And I can't wait to keep going down this road because I found a new comic book shop. And it's not all comic books. They got some books there, but it's a baseball card shop. The guy collects baseball cards and sells them. But he's got a magnificent collection of old comic books. Now, I had bought several comic books from this guy. And the characters that I'm going to mention, I'm going to explain about one by one. The Hulk. I feel the Hulk is like me, a monster inside a man that's misunderstood. And, I mean, this is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Frankenstein all in one. And the monster, who is a good guy, necessarily isn't a bad guy. Can be bad, but he chooses to do good. Then there's like the Green Arrow. His ingenuity, his creativity, Batman. These vigilantes that have used their wits and their money and their, Oliver Queen was stranded on an island, had to learn to basically fight off evil and defend for himself. He's the modern day Robin Hood. And in his show they rename him, they call him the Hood, which I necessarily don't like. And then you got Batman. And, Batman is my idol. His parents were killed as children, and he could have been bitter, and he could have been nasty, and he could have been destructive, and killed a whole lot of people because of his money, and how he could have bought multiple just outrageous crime he could have gone into crime. He was a multi-billionaire, and he didn't. He turned to the justice, he turned to the truth, the light, and the American way of freedom. These guys are the reason why they were put together is because they share similar aspects of themselves. They share similar things. Now, Batman, even though my parents are still alive, Batman speaks to me because he was taken away from his home, because his parents are his home, and his home isn't anything without his parents. So he was taken out of his home, and he was thrown into a world that isn't nice, and isn't kind, and isn't right all the time. Some rights are never righted. Another comic book character I like is Green Lantern. Now, Green Lantern, it's the Lantern Corps. It's an army. And even though I can't go into the army because of my mental disabilities, and I can never pursue that, that I know of, I can be part of the Lantern Corps and be part of a kind of an army. Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing was a genetic mutation. It was a freak accident, and he was created out of an old dead man, or a dead man's body that was polluted by toxic chemicals, and he was thrown into the swamp, and he survived. He survived and got turned into Swamp Thing. And the crazy thing about it is that's how I feel about myself. A piece of myself died a long time ago. When I was in the mental institution and they were pumping me full of drugs, and they did not care about how I felt, and they took me away from my parents, because of my mental disabilities, and they thought I wasn't safe in this world. They took me. And they pumped me full of drugs. So I feel like these are the characters that I best relate to. Now, at Hawkeye Cards, collector cards or baseball cards, basically Hawkeye cards. At Hawkeye Cards, this guy has got the best selection of old Silver Age. He does go into some Golden Age comic books. He does do that. But Golden Age, Silver Age, some modern. Some. Not like Nightfall. They deal in a lot of modern stuff. But this guy, his shop and his store, it is so enjoyable to be in, from my personal opinion. He almost brings a Santa Claus kind of care to the store, where he doesn't say a bad word. He always greets you at the door if he can. He makes you feel welcome and like you want to be there, If you ever got a question or a deal, he works with you on stuff, I bought a box of comic books that were 50 cents for $30. $30. And one of those comic books, which was the Super Friends, became became one of my favorites because it paid for the whole box. And I got an X-Men #1, I got an X-Men #2, I got a variant of the X-Men #1. I've gotten Hulk 162, the first appearance of the Wendigo. I've gotten the return of the Hobgoblin. He's got this one comic book that I want to get. It's a detectives comic book, and it has Batman, Batgirl, and Robin on it. And it's about a $70 comic book, and I really want to get it from him. Of course, not at that price, But, and he bought like over 1,000 comic books, and he brings just, these comic books that I get from him are so wonderful, and oh my god, like I enjoy reading them, and he's got the selection and the picks and the orders and the issues, and he's got every one I want, and some of these comic book characters that I have mentioned are actually there. That he's got a good amount of things that I look for in his store. And comic books have been a part of everybody's life, and it's been a big part of my life, and I can't help but to think that I mean, nobody wants. Halloween's coming up, and you know what the most popular thing is? Superheroes. Nobody wants to be a Mickey. Nobody wants to be a Minnie. Nobody wants to be a Pluto or a Goofy. They want to be a Superman or a Spider-Man. They want to be a Wolverine or a Cyclops or a Beast or, a superhero. And speaking about superheroes, my superhero, like, he is everything that he made me who I am today, basically. Stan Lee. Stan Lee is one of those living legend kind of things, and he's the real living legend. He makes dreams happen. Look at our society. We wouldn't have half the stuff if comic books wouldn't have, put ideas in people's heads. It's crazy. Poets, they talk about books, and they talk about their characters in books, but Stan Lee has put more characters and more life in his characters than even Shakespeare. I mean, look at the Fantastic Four. Look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he never has anything going right. It starts to go up, and then it always goes down, and up, and then down. He's the hard traveling hero. That's the best way I can describe him. He's the hard traveling hero. And Stan Lee and the creators of DC, they tackled real life issues. And like Stan Lee did a book with Spider-Man in it about child abuse. Batman did a book about child pornography. I mean, Superman and Captain America did books about racism. Wonder Woman did books about sexism. Foreign, foreign politics. The impact that these guys have had in our lives, and to bring it all back. When you go to a comic book shop and when you see all these comic books, and your dreams just automatically open up to the possibilities of never stopping, because these panels and these pages and these books are just unending, and his store is so enjoyable to go to. Like, I don't just go there for the comic books. I actually go there to talk to him because, one, he's knowledgeable, and two, he's an enjoyable person to talk to. Well, alright. I've said enough. Peace.